what really pushes us to our limits? Is it, the vastness of space? Or maybe the crushing pressure of the deep ocean? Or maybe it's something closer, something pulling us down, way down, over a mile into the Earth. Imagine that. Gravity just pulling you relentlessly into places where sunlight has literally never reached. Today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of place. We're exploring the world's deepest known caves, and we're focusing on one in particular, Veryovkina Cave, because frankly, its reputation is, well, it's chilling. It's this strange paradox, isn't it? Amazing science happens there, but it's also a place of just profound danger and isolation.
Yeah, and when we say cave, you really need to adjust your thinking. This isn't like a tourist spot with a few formations. It's an entire subterranean world. Think of a vertical maze carved deep inside a mountain range, specifically the Gagra Range in the Caucasus. That area is pretty unique geologically, lots of limestone, which water just eats away over millions of years. So you get these huge voids, these incredibly deep cave systems. That's why several of the world's deepest are right there. Veryovkina, it really stands out, not just for the depth, but the sheer terrifying challenges it throws at explorers.
Okay, let's try and picture this. So you decide you want to explore Veryovkina. You get to the entrance, maybe you expect a horizontal tunnel, a short drop.
Yeah.
But then you realize it just keeps going, down and down, for over a mile straight into the rock. That's the reality we're talking about.
It's almost impossible to really wrap your head around the scale, isn't it? The official depth is 7,257 feet. That's about 2,212 meters. So think about stacking two of the world's tallest skyscrapers, like one on top of the other, then flip that whole thing upside down and bury it. That's how deep this thing plunges.
That's dizzying just thinking about it. And it wasn't found all at once either. The exploration story is interesting too.
Right, it happened in stages. It was first poked into back in 1968, but they only got down about maybe 370 feet or so.
Okay.
Then another group from Moscow rediscovered it in '83 and pushed it down to around 1,400 feet over a few years. But then things stalled for quite a while. Over a decade, actually, partly due to, political changes in the region making access difficult.
Okay, so work eventually started again.
Yeah, around 2000, but it took another 15 years until 2015 for them to find this crucial new shaft, like a hidden passage. And that's what really unlocked the cave's full depth. By 2017, they hit 7,200 feet, mapping miles of passages. And then finally, in March 2018, they found the absolute bottom point at the floor of this underground lake. It really shows incredible perseverance, but also how tricky these deep systems are to fully explore.
And the logistics, exploring something that deep, that complex. It's obviously not just packing a lunch and some ropes. You mentioned it's like climbing a huge mountain.
Yeah.
Downward. Can you expand on that? What does an expedition look like?
Absolutely. Think about Everest, how climbers establish multiple base camps to move gear and acclimatize. It's very similar in Veryovkina, maybe even more complex. Cavers set up these underground camps. They're often permanent structures left year-round. There's one around 2,000 feet down, kind of a main depot, and the deepest operational camp is way down at about 6,900 feet. So getting to the bottom isn't one push. It's a multi-day, sometimes multi-week expedition just to reach the lower levels. It involves setting up literally thousands of feet of special ropes beforehand, hauling tons of gear, food, fuel, often needing multiple teams just for support.
Weeks underground. Okay, what are the conditions like down there? Because it sounds pretty grim.
Oh, it's brutal. The temperature is constant, just a few degrees above freezing, all the time. And you're not exactly strolling, you're crawling through thick, cold mud, wading through icy water, squeezing through passages so tight you might literally have to exhale just to fit. Then you hit these vertical shafts, maybe 100 feet or more, just dropping into blackness. The only way up or down those is using ropes. Single rope technique, SRT, specialized gear, harnesses, ascenders. Every single move has to be deliberate. Your gear is your lifeline. And the isolation, it's profound. Total darkness, no natural light, no surface sounds, just you, your headlamp beam, and your team. One mistake, one piece of gear fails. You're in a really, really bad situation with no easy way out.
That danger, that complete isolation, it sets the stage for one of the truly horrifying incidents that happened down there, when the cave itself seemed to turn on the explorers.
Yeah, this was a team including a well-known prey photographer and his assistant. They were at that deepest camp, 6,900 feet down. They were exploring near the bottom lake, which is actually pretty big, maybe 50 feet long, 25 wide, 28 deep. Things seemed normal. They were apparently having breakfast. Then they get a radio call from higher up. The message was stark. A flood pulse was coming down.
A flood pulse. What did that even mean to them at the time? Did they grasp the danger?
Well, that's the chilling part. Initially, not entirely. These are world-class cavers, right? They thought their camp location was safe. well above the lowest point. So they actually continued eating breakfast for a bit, thinking they had time to prepare. But then, the water hit. Suddenly, violently. The photographer, Robbie Schoen, described it as a deafening roar, as if a freight train was about to thunder through our camp, and it got louder and louder. Just try to imagine hearing that sound thousands of feet underground, knowing it's water coming for you, utterly terrifying.
A deafening roar like a freight train. Yeah, that's absolute nightmare fuel down there. What happened next? How fast did it escalate?
Almost instantly, there was this maybe 10-foot deep hole near their camp that had just been sort of trickling water. Suddenly, it completely filled and just exploded outwards with surging water. The water level rose incredibly fast. Panic set in. Real primal panic. Everyone was scrambling, pulling on dry suits, harnesses, climbing gear right over their base layers. Robbie, the photographer, had to make that awful split-second call. Leave behind tens of thousands of dollars in camera gear. He just grabbed the memory cards. He knew any delay trying to save gear could literally mean death for the team.
A terrible choice, but understandable. So what was the climb out like through that?
Harrowing doesn't even begin to cover it. The ropes they needed to climb up, they weren't just ropes anymore. They were described as raging waterfalls. The force of the water was immense, crushing and suffocating. They had to literally tuck their chins down to try and keep a small air pocket just to breathe while ascending through this torrent. Robbie said he was just consumed by terror, climbing as fast as humanly possible. He lost sight of his assistant Jeff for a while. He genuinely thought Jeff and the others below him might have drowned. It was that chaotic.
Oh my God.
Other team members described having to essentially swim above their tents, which were completely submerged. They had to pull themselves along the cave walls using traverse lines because the floor was gone. One person injured their knee pretty badly in that desperate escape, too.
Did they make it out?
They managed to regroup higher up at a temporary spot around 6,200 feet, but they weren't safe yet. They were trapped there for 16 hours. 16 hours listening to that thundering subterranean river, as they called it. Below them, the floodwaters were still high. Above them, the passage they needed to ascend was an impassable waterfall. They were just stuck.
Unbelievable. And what caused it? Just a heavy rain.
Kind of. The crazy thing is, on the surface, the rain wasn't even that extreme, described as nickel-sized drops. But it was enough to saturate the ground above the cave system, and all that water funneled down, creating this massive pulse deep inside. It was a huge wake-up call. It led to better surface monitoring, weather checks, and they even established an extra higher escape camp down low. They learned the hard way that the cave could flood in ways nobody had predicted.
Just when you think these stories can't get more unsettling, there's another one. This one isn't about the sudden violence of nature, but something quieter, more personal, a really grim discovery.
Yeah, this was about 2 years after the flood incident, November 2020. Explorers were heading into Veryovkina again, and they noticed something right at the entrance. A rope was already rigged. Someone had gone in before them. Okay, not entirely unusual maybe, but they proceeded down, past the first camp, down towards the second permanent camp, and then at about 3,600 feet, so roughly halfway down the world's deepest cave, they found him. A body, badly decomposed.
Oh no! Halfway down, what did they find out? Who was it?
The investigation pieced it together. He was identified as Sergei Kozev, apparently a Russian caver. It seems he'd spent about a week, maybe at the second camp, which is around 3,200 feet. And then crucially, he decided to continue deeper, alone, into the sections below Camp 2, which get much more technically difficult and significantly wetter and colder.
Alone, into the deeper parts. That sounds incredibly risky.
Exactly, and this is where the tragedy really crystallizes. The investigation found his equipment was just not up to the task for that part of the cave. He didn't have the right kind of ascenders, the foot ascenders you really need for efficiently climbing long stretches of vertical rope using SRT. And maybe even worse, he was seriously underdressed for the conditions. Below that second camp, it gets extremely cold and very wet. Hypothermia becomes a major risk.
So he just wasn't prepared.
Fundamentally, no, not for that depth alone. The combination of inadequate gear likely led to severe hypothermia setting in and profound exhaustion from trying to ascend without the proper tools. The grim conclusion is that he probably just lay down to rest or sleep while still attached to his rope, and he froze to death. Alone. Dangling from a rope 1,100 meters underground, he never woke up.
That's a truly horrific image.
And the difficulty in recovering his body just highlights the extreme nature of the place. It took a huge effort, over 100 people involved over days, just to bring him back to the surface.
It's hard to fathom. going alone into that.
Right.
Why? Why would anyone, even someone with experience, do that?
It's the question everyone in the caving world asks after something like this, and the answer is stark. You don't. It's practically the cardinal rule. Even the most seasoned experts would never venture into a cave like Veryovkina alone, especially not into the deep technical sections. In that environment, something simple, a jammed ascender, a dropped light, a sudden chill leading to fumbling fingers can become lethal incredibly quickly if you don't have a teammate right there to help. Teamwork isn't just preferred, it's absolutely essential for survival. His tragic end is just the grimmest possible reminder of that.
So we've heard these stories. The terrifying flood, this lonely, freezing death. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why do people do this? Why face these unbelievable risks? Spend weeks in darkness, cold, confined spaces. For a lot of us listening, I imagine, the idea itself is just pure claustrophobic terror. What is the pull? Is it just adrenaline? Or something deeper?
It's complex, I think. And you have to remember, these aren't casual thrill seekers. They are highly trained, physically capable individuals with a very specific mindset. For many, it's absolutely about pushing the boundaries of exploration. In a world where so much seems mapped and known, these deep caves are among the last true frontiers on Earth. Think about it, stepping into a passage where no human has ever been before. That's a powerful draw.
And there's real science down there too, right? It's not just planting flag.
Oh, absolutely. Huge scientific value. In Veryovkina, for instance, they've discovered entirely new species of invertebrates. Tiny creatures evolved to live in perpetual darkness, feeding on minerals or bacteria. Chemosynthesis, not photosynthesis. Studying them tells us incredible things about how life can adapt to extreme environments, which has implications for searching for life elsewhere, even on other planets. They also find things like paleoclimate data preserved in mineral formations like stalagmites. These act like geological archives, recording ancient water levels and climate shifts going back hundreds of thousands of years. Invaluable data. So it's this mix of pure exploration, the drive to see what's there, combined with genuine scientific discovery.
That makes sense. But still, the risks.
The risks are immense, and no one underestimates them. Even with the best training, gear, and planning, things can go wrong, as we've heard. There's even a saying in caving: getting in is mandatory, getting out is optional. It highlights that the exit, when you're tired, maybe cold, possibly dealing with changed conditions, is often the most dangerous part. But the incidents, like the flood or Sergei Kozayev's death, terrible as they are, do lead to learning. They lead to better techniques, improved safety protocols, a deeper respect for the environment. It's a constant process of learning how to navigate these incredibly powerful, unpredictable places.
So what's the takeaway for you listening? Maybe it's just a raw reminder of the planet's untamed power, something that exists whether we acknowledge it or not, capable of swallowing us whole. Or maybe it speaks to that strange pull of the unknown, that very human, sometimes dangerous, urge to see what lies hidden in the dark. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? In our world that feels so explored, there are still these profound depths, miles beneath our feet. Depths waiting to be understood, maybe holding scientific secrets. Or perhaps, for some unfortunate few, waiting to become a final silent tomb. That silence, the utter darkness, the immense pressure. It's an extreme, almost alien reality, and it truly exists right here on Earth.